to Anthony Albanese, the Prime Minister, who is speaking.
Here in Dulwich Hill, in my electorate of Grainler. They bought here in 2021. So yesterday is the first time that they've seen a rate cut, and that will make an enormous difference to them. They get some relief by the fact that interest rates are now going down. So my government has worked with Australians to bring down inflation, to see wages increasing, to see interest rates now falling, a tax cut for every single Australian, and jobs being maintained as well. Some 1.1 million jobs since we were elected have been created in this country, more than during any term of any government in history. And indeed, our unemployment rate is at an average lower than any government in the last 50 years. So these have been difficult times. Australians had to endure COVID and then the impact of global inflation. But what we are seeing is that we're heading in the right direction. We've laid important foundations during our first term, and we want to continue to put that downward pressure on inflation, which when we came to office had a 6 in front of it, now is at 2.4. Employment has been maintained during that period as well. And importantly, wages are now increasing 4 quarters in a row. When we came to office, wages were in decline, inflation was on the way up. Interest rates had started to rise. Now we see wages rising, inflation falling, interest rates falling, and employment being maintained, while tax cuts have been delivered. Happy to take questions.
Minister, are you disappointed that the RBA governor has given no impression of further rate relief in the near future?
The RBA governor has done her job, and the RBA governor has made some comments that aren't surprising, but importantly as well, if you look at the statement that was made, the first headline in her statement was about inflation falling, and that's important, down to 2.4%. It's about a third of where it peaked, and much, much lower than when we came to government, where it had a 6 in front of it and was rising at the same time as wages were falling in real terms as a deliberate design feature of the former government's policies.
Do you think this cut enough to be a political saviour for your government?
People will make their own comments. Our job has been to get inflation down. That's been our objective, helping Australians, working with Australians to get inflation down, to get wages up, so that we improve costs of living. We know that Australians have been under significant financial pressure. We know that we continue to work each and every day. The job certainly is not done. We'll continue to do that, but we've put in place the right mechanisms. When we came into government, we inherited a $78 billion Liberal deficit. We turned that into a $22 billion Labor surplus, and then followed that up with another surplus. And the only people that I've seen disappointed by the Reserve Bank governor is, well, I don't know what Peter Dutton thinks because no one's seen him since the announcement, but Angus Taylor looked like someone had run over his cat in the driveway yesterday. He looked so disappointed, and they continue to talk Australia down. I'll continue to talk Australia up, because it's the interests of families like James and Lou and young Romy here that we have that positive approach towards Australia's future.
For the average Australian household,
It's about $100 a month they'll be saving. What do you think that means
to them? Is it actually enough to make a difference?
Well, the important thing about what James and Lou have said to us here this morning is, for them it'll make a difference of about $115 a month. That's $115 additional in their pocket, as well as the tax cuts, which is additional cash in people's pockets being delivered for every worker from last July, every pay packet. In addition to that, you see the rise in wages as well. All of these measures come together to make a difference to people. We know that people are still under financial pressure, but Australians have worked hard for this outcome, and Australians deserve praise and support for what they have done.
Prime Minister, Clive Palmer has announced he's making a political return today. I'm curious, do you think there's space in Australian politics?
Look, a bloke who spends over $100 million to deliver one Senate seat with a bloke who sits in the corner and just engages in conspiracy theories, I don't think represents value for money.
A candidate in every seat threaten democracy in your view?
Well, people are entitled to run, but it's a distortion of democracy when you have an individual spending $100 million on a campaign right around the country. I've seen these strange ads have been appearing for months now. I'm not sure what the objective of them is, but people are entitled to put themselves forward in an election. But if you're a serious political party, then you have to have serious policies. At the moment, there's only one political party in Australia that has serious policies. We've got a serious economic policy. We have a serious health policy of strengthening Medicare through Medicare urgent care clinics, through the tripling of the bulk billing incentive, through the support for extra GPs that we've put in place. We have a serious education policy from early learning, the increase in wages of childcare workers at 15%, our schools policy, our free TAFE, our universities accord. We have a serious environmental policy with a target of 43% by 2030, but with a plan to get there through safeguard mechanism and the capacity investment scheme. And we have a serious policy of engaging in the world. We've restored our relations with the Pacific neighbours. We have improved our relations with ASEAN. We've restored trade with our major trading partner in China that's benefited. More than $20 billion of exports going to China have been restored. That has been our approach. The alternative government in this country is not Clive Palmer. The alternative government is a mob that have, after 3 years, produced three policies: a $600 billion nuclear energy plan, which is not supported by any of the state or territory governments, including David Crisafulli or the Northern Territory government, with bans in place for nuclear energy, one that will produce a minuscule amount of Australia's energy needs, one that relies upon a 40% less energy use than what the Australian Energy Market Operator says will be necessary, and will cost $600 billion that taxpayers have to pay for. And we know that those cuts will be added to their second policy, which is that they'll make cuts. We know last time round, Peter Dutton tried to introduce a GP tax, a tax every time people would visit the doctor, a pharmaceutical tax, and cut tens of billions of dollars out of the health system, as well as the cuts that were made to education and other essential services. So that's the second part of their policy. The third part is free lunch for some that everyone has to pay for. They're the only three policies they've come up with. Labor is the only political party that has a coherent economic, social and environmental policy in 2025.